Let's talk about the 2024 US elections. Remember 2020? We had a pandemic, lockdowns, and an election that kept us all guessing. The drama was intense, especially in Florida. Now here we are in 2024, and it's election time again. So before we dive into the candidates, let's go over how this works. The Electoral College decides who wins, and each state has its own strategy. The stakes are high, and things can get pretty intense. States flip colors, and candidates compete for every vote. It's interesting to watch democracy in action. One notable change this year is the increased focus on key swing states. Both candidates are focusing heavily on states like Arizona, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, which are expected to play a crucial role in the election outcome. Time to meet our potential presidents. On one side, we've got the Democrats, who want to revamp the economy. They've got big plans and promises. President Joe Biden is hoping for a second term, aiming to continue his work on healthcare reform, infrastructure, and clean energy. He's also advocating for expanded social programs and measures to address climate change. On the other side, we've got the Republicans. Former President Donald Trump is seeking a return to the White House. His platform focuses on issues like border security, economic deregulation, and boosting the military. We've also got some other candidates trying to make a splash. For example, Vivek Ramaswamy brought youthful energy and conservative principles, while Kanye West expressed interest in running as an independent candidate. Although his campaign hasn't gained much traction this time around, can you imagine what the country would look like if Kanye West ran the country? And let's not forget about Robert Kennedy, who's also in the mix, adding another layer of complexity to the race. It's interesting to see how engaged people are with this election. Some celebrities have already started sharing their opinions too. For example, Taylor Swift has been vocal about her support for the Democrats, while other figures like Joe Rogan have shown support for the Republicans. The entertainment world is certainly buzzing with election talk. What about the polls? Well, they go back and forth a lot, but remember, they're just a snapshot, not a prophecy. In the 2016 and 2020 elections, polls often pointed in one direction, but the actual results were different in several states. So that's the 2024 US elections in a nutshell. The 2024 US presidential election is coming up, and it looks like we might see a rematch between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. The polls in key states are close. In Arizona, Trump has a small lead, and in Georgia, his lead is a bit bigger. Michigan and Wisconsin lean towards Trump slightly. Nevada and North Carolina also favor Trump, but Pennsylvania is really close. Key states like Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and North Carolina are crucial battlegrounds that could swing either way. These states have been hotly contested in recent elections, and both campaigns are investing heavily in winning them over. Arizona, in particular, has seen a surge in political ads and campaign events as both candidates recognize its importance. These polling averages can change, though. Public opinion shifts with campaign strategies, debates, and other events. The race might change in the coming months. For example, debates have historically played a big role in changing undecided voters' minds, and major news events can also impact public perception. What if Biden wins a second term? We could expect more focus on healthcare, climate change, and social justice issues. On the other hand, if Trump wins, we might see a return to his previous policies, focusing on immigration, deregulation, and strengthening the military. Both scenarios could have big effects for the US and the world. Which of these issues do you think will have the biggest impact on the election outcome? In a Biden presidency, we might see initiatives like the Build Back Better plan being prioritized, aiming to boost infrastructure and promote green energy. Meanwhile, a Trump presidency could focus on reducing regulations and implementing more conservative judges in the courts. Internationally, a Biden win might mean stronger alliances with traditional US allies, while a Trump win might lead to more unpredictable foreign policy moves. These differing approaches highlight the importance of this election, as the outcome will shape both domestic and international policy for years to come. In Democratic strongholds like Massachusetts, Biden has a big lead, and in New York, he's ahead by 10%. These are states where Democrats have historically dominated. On the flip side, in states like Florida and Texas, Trump leads by around 10%. These stats show how different regions have different political preferences, reflecting the diversity of the US electorate. Regional issues play a significant role in shaping voter preferences. For instance, in Texas, energy policy is a major factor, while in New York, healthcare and social issues are more prominent. These localized concerns often influence how people vote, and it's crucial for candidates to address them effectively. By using these resources, voters can make informed decisions. The election season will focus on important issues like the economy, healthcare, foreign policy, and social justice. Both candidates need to share their vision for the future and address the concerns of diverse voters. The outcome of the 2024 election will shape the future of the United States. Comparing the 2024 election with past elections, it's clear that politics have changed. In 2016, Trump surprised many by winning key swing states, while in 2020, Biden managed to flip several states back to the Democrats. This year's election is shaping up to be just as unpredictable. It's interesting to note the changing issues that concern voters. In 2016, topics like immigration and trade were at the forefront, while in 2020, the pandemic and racial justice took center stage. In 2024, the key issues seem to be the economy, inflation, and climate change, among others. This shift highlights how political focus changes over time. What issues are most important to you in this election, and how do you perceive the shifting priorities based on your age group? Additionally, voter demographics are changing. Younger voters are becoming a bigger part of the voters, and their preferences differ from older generations. For example, younger voters tend to prioritize issues like climate change and social justice, while older voters might focus more on economic stability and national security. These changing demographics will continue to shape future elections. Another notable change is the increased emphasis on mail-in voting and early voting, which started during the pandemic and has remained popular. This change in voting behavior has altered how campaigns strategize and how elections unfold. Vivek Ramaswamy entered the race in 2024 with a burst of youthful energy, business spirit, and conservative principles. He announced his candidacy on Tucker Carlson Tonight, one of the most watched programs in conservative media. In his campaign, he presented himself as a candidate who wanted to shrink federal agencies, challenge certain business practices, and promote American nationalism. Ramaswamy's anti-woke stance resonated with voters who were unhappy with the current political discourse. He tapped into a sense of frustration among Americans who felt that political correctness had gone too far. His messages, which often criticized large corporations and tech companies for being too politically involved, found an audience among those who wanted to see less government interference in business. Ramaswamy aimed for a diverse coalition, including young people, disaffected voters, and those aligned with the America First movement. His campaign was particularly focused on Iowa, a key early state in the presidential primaries. He attended events across all of Iowa's 99 counties, a traditional strategy for candidates seeking to win over voters in this influential state. Despite his efforts, Ramaswamy faced challenges in gaining broad support. His outsider status, while appealing to some voters, made it difficult for him to break through in a crowded Republican primary field. However, his campaign succeeded in bringing certain issues to the forefront, such as the role of ESG, environmental, social, and governance criteria in business, and the size of the federal government. After the Iowa caucuses, Ramaswamy supported Trump, who became the frontrunner in the Republican primary. This endorsement further aligned him with the America First movement and solidified his position as an influential voice among conservative voters who sought to challenge the political establishment. Ramaswamy's campaign showcased how a non-traditional candidate could still make an impact, even without winning. His focus on issues like shrinking the federal government and opposing woke culture highlighted the different opinions within the Republican Party and showed that there's room for a variety of perspectives in American politics. Ramaswamy's impact went beyond his campaign. He brought fresh perspectives and discussed standards for businesses. His outreach to younger voters changed strategies among other candidates, showing the importance of broad-based coalitions. His endorsement of Trump might have boosted Trump's support among Ramaswamy's followers. Ramaswamy's focus on standards for businesses, which refers to a set of rules for a company's operations that socially conscious investors use to screen potential investments, was a fresh take within the conservative political landscape. His stance highlighted a growing skepticism towards corporate involvement in social and environmental issues, resonating with voters who felt that businesses should focus solely on profit-making. His campaign also showcased the potential of youth involvement in politics. By engaging with younger voters through social media and town hall events, he demonstrated the importance of addressing the concerns of the younger generation. His efforts highlighted issues like student debt, job opportunities, and political correctness, which resonated with a younger audience. Ramaswamy's brief campaign created an example for future non-traditional candidates. His willingness to challenge the status quo and focus on issues that weren't traditionally prioritized in conservative circles showed that there's room for new ideas in American politics. His ability to garner attention as a political outsider indicated that voters are increasingly open to hearing from candidates who don't fit the typical political mold. What do you think about his approach? Do you agree or disagree with his stance on these issues? His pivot to support Trump after suspending his bid showed the changing political alliances. This move aligned him with the more traditional conservative base while still maintaining his unique platform, emphasizing the importance of coalition building in politics. His endorsement likely strengthened Trump's support among Ramaswamy's followers, demonstrating the influence of endorsements in influencing voter behavior. Ramaswamy's campaign also influenced other candidates who began to address some of the issues he highlighted, such as corporate influence on politics and the role of younger voters. This influence on the broader political discourse showed that even a brief campaign can have a lasting influence on political plans and priorities. In conclusion, Ramaswamy's campaign highlighted the changing nature of American politics, where non-traditional candidates can have significant influence, and where the concerns of younger and disaffected voters are increasingly shaping the political landscape. The 2024 election is expected to be closely watched and hotly contested. The issues at stake include the economy, healthcare, immigration, and foreign policy. Both candidates will have to address these issues and convince voters that they have the best plan for the future. It's also interesting to note how technology and social media are influencing this election. Both campaigns are using digital platforms to reach voters, and misinformation is a major concern. By staying informed and participating, Americans can shape their country's future and uphold democracy. I've learned a lot throughout this journey, and I hope you have too. Let me know in the comments what you discovered or if there's anything I missed. What are your predictions for the 2024 election? Who do you think will win and why? Also, watch this very interesting video about weird and quirky oddities of the United States. And as always, see you in the next Earth Basics.